It was the cold, moonless night of December 6, 1994. The clock had just struck 2 a.m., and the silence of the night was thick, disturbed only by the occasional rustling of the tall, dark trees that lined the narrow road between two isolated villages. This road, a 1-kilometer stretch shrouded in darkness, was notorious. No one dared to walk it at night, for it was said that something unnatural lurked in the shadows, something no one ever lived to describe. But Raj didn't believe in such tales. Raj, a young man from the nearby village of Sundarvan, had often heard these stories growing up, but dismissed them as nothing more than local folklore. He was used to walking between the villages, even at night, when his work kept him late. To him, this road was just a shortcut, a 15-minute walk from Sundarvan to the neighboring village of Adival. He had traveled it many times before, both day and night, and nothing had ever happened. But tonight was different. Raj had finished late at a friend's wedding in Adival, and began his journey back home around 1:45 a.m. His footsteps echoed on the dirt road as he walked briskly, hoping to reach Sundarvan before the cold of the night crept too deeply into his bones. The trees, tall and shadowy, seemed to loom closer as he walked, their branches twisting unnaturally in the windless night. Halfway along the road, Raj felt a sudden chill, as if the temperature had dropped drastically. He stopped, looking around. The silence was suffocating. Not a single sound came from the forest on either side, no owls, no crickets, not even the rustling of leaves. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw it. A faint light, barely visible, flickering among the trees to his left. At first, he thought it might be a firefly or perhaps someone from the village, but as the light grew brighter, it became clear that this was something else. Something unnatural. A lantern, swaying gently in the air, seemingly floating on its own. Raj's heart began to race, but curiosity got the better of him. He stepped off the road, into the trees, following the light. As he got closer, the air grew colder still, and a heavy fog began to settle around him, swirling around his feet like tendrils of smoke. And then, he heard it, a soft voice, calling his name. Raj. Raj. His breath hitched in his throat. He couldn't move. The voice was neither male nor female, young nor old. It was simply there, beckoning him. Suddenly, the lantern vanished, and the fog thickened, surrounding Raj like a dense wall. He turned, trying to find his way back to the road, but it was as if the trees had closed in on him, the path disappearing into darkness. Panic surged through him as the voice grew louder, more insistent. Raj. Come closer. Raj. In the distance, he saw something that made his blood run cold. A figure, standing motionless in the fog. It was a woman, dressed in tattered, old-fashioned clothing, her face pale and lifeless. Her eyes were wide, staring directly at him, and her mouth hung open in a silent scream. Raj stumbled backward, his body frozen with fear. The woman's face began to twist, her skin stretching unnaturally, her eyes growing darker, deeper. Suddenly, he realized, this was the ghost from the old village stories. The woman who had died on this very road years ago, her body found mangled, and unrecognizable. They said she still roamed the road, searching for her killer. And anyone who saw her never returned. Raj turned and ran, his feet barely touching the ground as he sprinted back toward the road. He could feel her presence behind him, hear the rustling of her tattered dress as she followed, faster, closer. The voice, now a guttural growl, echoed in his ears, Raj. You cannot escape. Just as he reached the edge of the road, the lantern appeared again, flickering right in front of him. Raj skidded to a stop, his heart pounding in his chest. The figure stepped out from the fog, her hand reaching toward him. And then, darkness. The next morning, when the villagers of Sundarvan woke, they found Raj's body lying on the road, just a few feet away from the entrance to the village. His eyes were wide open, frozen in terror, his skin as cold as the air that had surrounded him that night. No one dared to walk the road again after that. The woman, it seemed, had claimed another soul.